In this video, we are going to be diving into something that is extremely powerful for marketing, for building better programs. If you're talking about info products and things like that, even if you have a physical products brand, you can just build better assets if you understand these things. So we're going to be leveraging a few different models that we did not design. Some of these things we did design, some of these things we did not design, and we will be very explicit in which ones we did and didn't because we want to give credit to where it's due. And so we're going to share a couple of these things, take you through them really quick, and then we're going to show you how you can literally improve your marketing. You can improve almost everything using this little avatar process and then this little circle model. And the funny thing about this is everybody talks about avatar work. Everybody talks about, how do you got to know your customer better and you're going to get better results in your marketing, your sales, and your business in general. And we all know it's the truth, but then we get down to like practical means of that. And we've done 5 different avatar worksheets and we get one little thing from each one. I want to show you a way right now how to take multiple options because almost every business out there right now and all the information tells you to focus on one person at a time. And while technically that is true, and we've seen that when you dial in on one person, it's much easier to grow the brand, very true. However, at the same time, you don't always know which one to start with, and you don't always see where the overlap between the different targeted people are. Because if you knew that, you know the difference between what's included in your core program for everything and then what is targeted specifically towards one avatar or another. Because usually there's some elements that they could all use, and then there's some elements that are refined specifically for that person and where they are at in their journey. It does not matter what you're selling. This directly applies to everybody and every business on the planet, which is really cool. I love models like that. I love things that apply to almost any business because it shows you fundamental truths and principles that you can for sure apply to any business. And so when you see those, it's always good to capture them, write them down, and things like that. So with that said, on my channel, I'm going to start sharing more stuff like this. This is kind of behind the scenes of what we do with some of our growth partnerships, where we partner with specific brands and we will help them usually generate more leads. But I'm not a huge fan of kind of pigeonholing us that way because we are so much more than that. We end up coaching the CEO or the founder. We help them kind of establish a better business because most businesses are kind of running on partial models and just things that they've seen, but they aren't familiar with how to actually gauge what's going wrong in their business. So they don't understand why they're on a revenue roller coaster. They don't understand why they don't have more freedom from their business. And ultimately, that's what we want to design here is more team-led operations and systems that make more money for everybody involved. So let's get right into it. What I'm going to share with you first is going to be a model, again, that we did not explicitly design. So little sneak peek, we're going to be touching on some things here soon that you'll see in a moment. But let's take a look at this stuff. So what we're going to be using is a sheet that was directly designed by Alex Charfen. So again, if you guys don't know who that is, he's actually one of the coaches and mentors behind Alex Hormozi, at least in the earlier days, and Layla Hormozi. And so he's kind of a big deal. He's a really cool guy. In fact, if you actually go search Alex Charfen testimonial, let's see if we can pull this up here, you will actually explicitly see this right here, okay? Alex and Layla Hormozi, and you can go ahead and watch this. Just search whatever that was in Google, Alex Charfen Hormozi testimonial, and you can go ahead and watch this video. Pretty cool. You'll see how he was with them and behind them when they first kind of got started, when they were a little bit smaller, and you'll hear what Layla has to say about Alex Charfen. Anyway, Alex Charfen does not provide any coaching services as of the time of this video. We were actually in his mastermind for a while, and he actually closed it down because he was on to bigger and better things, but he hasn't announced what that is yet. But regardless, go give him a follow. The guy is a legend. And I want to show you one of the models he shared with us, which was the client-centric mission. Again, all credit to him for the design of this. We're just going to take this and implement some things off of it that you're going to really enjoy and benefit from. So with that being said, I'm just going to give you the quick overview. And in fact, we're going to use this one because it'll be a little bit better. So we want to help, right? And this is the base model. Now the client-centric mission, let me give you some quick background on this. The main idea of this is just to make sure that you have kind of have like a North Star for your business and you know where you guys are going at all times so your team can consistently review that and know that everything that you guys are doing as a company is passing through this filter, right, of knowing you're successful when. So this kind of gives you like the way to measure the actual success, the impact that you guys want to make as a brand. And again, some of this is going to sound kind of basic, like mission, vision, values type of stuff. But the truth is that everything in your company should pass through this filter. We're just going to use it in a totally different way that goes far beyond just the mission and the ways to measure things and literally help you package and improve your overall brand as a whole, all the way from the marketing to the sales to the delivery, all from this specific thing, including enhancing your product or service. So we will help them buy, and these are the very specific things you're going to do. You can almost think of these as like the deliverables. And then we want to help, and this is going to be the specific person. Now, again, the way that Alex Scherfen teaches this stuff is a little bit different than what we're going to be showing here. If you guys want to teach how he teaches, or if you guys want to understand how he teaches this stuff, you are more than welcome to go look him up, go watch his YouTube stuff, dig into his content. He's a super cool guy, and you're going to love everything that the guy puts out. We're just going to use it differently. So this is the base design, right? The things you're going to help them do quite specifically, the change you want to make. This is like the transformation, okay, the end result, if you will, and then how we're going to measure that end result. So let's take a look at this. And we're going to dig into this right here. This is going to be an example specifically that Alex Scherfen would have shared in this case. And then I'm going to show you how we are going to move into some circle models and kind of carry that over into a really cool overlapping technique that you can use, because I'm going to show you how he kind of teaches to use this thing and then how we are using and leveraging this in a different way. So let's give you a quick example. We want to help, this is Alex Scherfen's example, we want to help entrepreneurial couples who work together and feel like their business is competing with their marriage and family, and as a result do not feel successful or are afraid to grow their business, basically because it's subconsciously working against bringing them together as a family, right, and strengthening their family goals, okay, which is very common, by the way, in the entrepreneurial space. Most people don't know, but most business-related families, not most, but probably the majority, at least, more than 50%, have a lot of strain on the core relationships because of the nature of what is required to run a business. It's fundamentally different. You don't get to clock in and clock out. We will help them by giving them processes, frameworks, and systems to help their marriage, families, and businesses thrive. Amazing. So kind of the deliverables, right? Processes, frameworks, and systems to help them. Now, the change we want to make is to help entrepreneurial couples stay connected and work together to build successful businesses, supportive marriages, and connected families. That's the overall transformation. They want to help these people become more connected and work together, all right? Because they truly believe that, number one, it builds a better business for them, Alex Scherfen and his family in this case, okay? And at the same time, they truly feel like that quite literally just makes the marketplace or the world a better place while we're also making money. All right, so it's just looking for alignment here. We will know we're successful when the clients we work with give up on the myth of work-life balance and instead integrate their business and personal lives. Now, notice this is not like a specific KPI. There's no number involved necessarily. So this could have a number at the end of it, or it could not. Again, I don't want to get too far away from what we're trying to do here with the circles, but I just want to kind of explain these things so you know as you go. As a result, their businesses are more successful and they feel more aligned and their families and lives are in momentum. Now, basically, the way that you're going to know this is by speaking to them. And they're going to tell you, or it's going to reflect in their life, that they no longer believe in work-life balance and instead are getting into grooves where they are fundamentally pre-planning their momentum, their speed in business, and then they're hitting those targets. Okay, so the target may not be specific other than the fact that they're able to predictably grow, all right, and to also live the life in a way that they want to, whether that's doing different cycles, whatever it might be, okay? And ultimately, they're more successful. They feel aligned, so the feeling, right? That someone's gonna have to tell you, like, I feel so much better. Like, that's part of the point of fitness, for example, is you could measure someone's body mass index and the change in their body, but if they don't feel better, then who cares? Like, they don't want to do it. So ultimately, it's to feel better, whether it's about themselves, whether it's physically, whether it's through movement, etc. All right, so a fitness-related offer might have something related to that here. We will know we're successful when maybe it's not losing a percentage of body fat. Maybe it's when I feel like I have energy again. and I don't crash at the end of the day. Amazing. That is a worthwhile transformation that is worthy of measuring. Now you got to reverse engineer how to actually measure it and get that feedback. So let's dive into some real world examples, and I'm going to show you using some circles here what we're going to do with this and how that's going to enhance your entire business. Okay. Um, so in this example, this specific person, this specific brand is a little bit more focused on short-term rental space. So they have a pretty large portfolio. They have multiple things going on. I don't want to disclose their entire portfolio, just because anyone who knows me super well might be able to understand like who this is, just through my network. And we like to keep our clients' information private because we're putting out trainings and stuff using some of the assets. And I prefer to kind of keep that private just to respect them. In some cases, we'll drop certain things, but those have to be kind of filtered by them. So in this case, right, one of the things that they're doing, one of the options they have is to serve existing Airbnb hosts who own or manage at least one property. Okay. Now let's contrast that. Option number two to serve, okay, and I'm going to tell you in a second why we have multiple options. People who want to get into Airbnb and don't have any units. By the way, short-term rental, VRBO, whatever, it doesn't matter. We're just using Airbnb because it's the most recognizable in this case. So people who want to get into Airbnb but don't have any units yet, okay? So existing units, don't have any units, or somebody who wants to get into, some other type of investment. Maybe it's boutique hotels, maybe it's a fund, maybe it's something else. But at the end of the day, they consider themselves an investor or ready to be an investor, and they want to get information. I'm not sure what's going on here. Into, right? And have a minimum of $100,000 in the bank. Bonus if they are at least already have some property under the belt, just because we kind of know they know what to expect when it comes to real estate. Long story short, this is essentially a fund positioning. Okay, now check this out. We have three different options here. Now, what's interesting is that if we're deciding what lead magnets to put out, what our core offer is, what our general offers could be, all right? We have a lot of multi-talented elite experts who want to teach on different areas. And the problem sometimes that these people run into is that they're overqualified in too many things, in too many areas. So, excuse me, if we use a medical spa consultant option, right? Let me see if that's who we have here. So in this case, right, this person could just focus on a little bit more of a generalized approach, like med spa and aesthetic practice owners who feel stuck and overwhelmed. They love their practice, but they're aware they don't know the business side of things. Okay, that's one option. Now, another option is this, okay? Med spa and aesthetic practice owners who have a revenue problem. So specifically a revenue problem, okay? Maybe we're separating it out by problem. Maybe we're separating out by funding. Maybe we're separating out by different things. And we're going to show you why this matters here in a second. Who have a profit problem. So same people, but who have a profit problem instead of a revenue problem. Who have a team problem. Who have a systems or ops problem. Okay, so the problem is different. Now I want you to see something very different about this, okay? Now, first things first, let me reformat this here. Just give me 1 second. Forgive me, but that's going to really not work out. Okay, so notice how, all right, we're going to go just between a profit problem. All right, let's go, yeah, and a team problem. Okay, so profit problem versus team problem. Let me zoom in here for you a little bit to make this a little easier to look at. Profit problem. Okay, so we will help them by helping them track key metrics, key numbers, and how to use those to discover the hidden opportunities to increase their profit. And we could almost bold this right here, right? Look at that, because there's a profit problem. So they have hidden opportunities to increase their profit, creating more confidence in them by making data-based decisions. Okay. Look, we're catching stuff all the time, which leads to better systems, controlling costs, okay, and improving margins without having to work more hours. Now, notice how the deliverables in this case, providing them with these things and the support in that process, are fundamentally different than the team problem, okay? So we will help them buy for the team issue, teaching them how to hire the right members, proper onboarding, training processes, respectful leadership, and building a culture people want to be a part of that produces rebookings, reviews, and referrals by default. Look at that. Fundamentally different, the transformation you're going to be delivering, because look at the transformation. The change we want to make is to help them develop a high-performing team that is capable of executing and operating the business without them. Fundamentally different than to help them become self-sufficient in uncovering the hidden profits using data they already have for now and moving forward. That's insanely different. What your program is going to deliver, and we have other videos on modules. So if you check my channel, we have other videos on how to create like module-based programs, which really help you fundamentally understand if you're overbuilding a program, if you're underbuilding a program, if you're even focused on the right thing. We're going to use a triangle model in there from a guy named Taki Moore, Takimoore. He has a thing called a triangle model, and his fundamentally his coaching program, who is a coach who coaches coaches, but at the highest level. He was also coached Alex Hormozy, by the way, and guys like Dan Martell. He's a huge guy. He's amazing. Ironically, Alex Sharfet and Taki also know each other. And we highly recommend, if you are trying to build a coaching offer, you just go to someone like that and leverage their models, and then come to us to spend a lot of money on ads so you can then scale it up, okay? Because that's what we build. We build acquisition systems for established offers. We do not want to help you get started with your offer. That is fundamentally not what we love to do. And there are guys who do it so good that there is no need we would ever want to duplicate that, okay? So with that being said, you can go leverage that model. However, we're still going to train and teach on it a little bit and give those guys all the credit, because fundamentally we need to understand it to understand some of the things that we do. Okay, so if you're missing one piece, then you're going to be missing fundamentally something that we have come up with. Okay, so with that being said, each of these would be its own triangle model. Okay, and each of them would have unique barriers to establishing this transformation, getting in the way of getting there. All right, so from A to B or A to Z, right? If you're starting here and you're trying to get there, there's going to be fundamentally different roadblocks depending on where you're trying to get to. Where you're trying to get to here is fundamentally different than where you're trying to get to here. Very simple, right? How do we know? Also because of the things that have to go into place to get them here. Does that make sense? And then the things we're going to measure are fundamentally different between these two. So look at what we're going to measure here. How will we know we're successful when we've helped them do this? Okay. Well, they've unlocked more profit. They feel more confident about making business decisions based on their key numbers. And the result is confidence in creating more profit. So there is higher profitability there, right? And the providers are biasing towards what benefits the business versus the normal selfish subconscious motives that typically undermine people in their position. Okay? All right. Now look at this. Fundamentally different, okay? They can take a vacation. All right, so either they have higher profit but have no vacation, well, then they don't have a team in place, obviously, right? So they can have all of this, fundamentally. They can have all this in place and not have this. Does that make sense? Okay? Now, again, we could go back and lump this all together. If we go all the way back up here, we could lump it all together and then just say, we want to have a program where they go from doing it all to having a team to freeing up their time and growing their business predictably and having more profit and all those things. We could do that. It could be a very, very robust program. But if you try to become modular about it, meaning that you can actually serve different people, and as they're coming in, kind of just customize the roadmap a little bit, have the pieces and just feed them the 2 pieces out of the 3 and give them the 2 that they need and not the 3rd that they don't need, but have it, because that one is something that you can supply someone else, and then have more of a generalized support model to where you can quite literally serve your top 3 avatars. I mean, man, you have a super hyper scalable thing, especially if these are all the same people with just a slightly different problem. Does that make sense? So it is the same avatar, but it's the same avatar with a different problem. Wow. So you can have different programs geared towards the same avatar with a different problem? Absolutely. And that's what you want. You want things targeted to fix the person where they're at with their problem, not just the person, because they are different fundamentally. If you just said, med spa and aesthetic practice owners and use that generalized one up there, you can have this big fluffy program that's not specific enough. And so I'm going to show you here with the circles here in a second, like how this gets real nitty and gritty. But once you have all these things in place, you fix the team problem. You fix the systems and the ops problem that helps the team run. Because look at this. To help their team deliver amazing treatments with more ease, brand standards are improving, there's quality control, all while the business is improving and running without the owner present. But you made it easier on the team. So now the team is running it. Now you have a system that's supporting the team. That's really like we should say the system is supporting the team to be all stars. Okay? That's what you want. The system is supporting the team. That's huge. Got it? Very different than the other ones. Okay. Now, what's interesting, let's imagine, okay, that you wanted to serve these different people. But you weren't going to put out all the programs at once. We have other things where you can like, actually, we just did a video I'm going to put out on the channel as well, which is how to build amazing programs, like all-star programs with way less effort and get paid to do it. And we have a video on that, okay? And so if you go watch that, you'll understand this even better, how you don't have to do all this work of building out these programs up front. And in fact, you can even get paid for it. And so with that being said, less effort, more reward, in less time, and it's a better overall product just by combining a couple activities together and not doing certain things up front. Because you would think that you just want to like design a program and then go film it. We're going to have you do something different. So let me change now, and let's take some of this stuff and actually make it real. All right, because I want to show you something that I really think you're going to enjoy once you understand this. Okay, so let's go ahead. Whoops. Let's go ahead and share this guy. Hang on a second now. Oh, it's trying to share my phone. We don't want that. Okay, we're going to unplug that. We are going to see if it shares my iPad now. Technical difficulties. This is going to happen from time to time. Let's try this. There we go. All right, you should see a bunch of overlapping circles on the screen. So check this out. Here's what we're going to do. All right. Now, theoretically, you could serve unlimited avatars. Theoretically, right? In a perfect world. Okay. But we know that's not how business works, and that's not what Hormozi preaches, which is like what the whole market is gobbling up right now. And so fundamentally, if you served a zillion avatars, you could theoretically, right? You could theoretically dial in the core of what is common between all of them. And you would have something that you could sell to many people. All right? Sounds good. Sounds amazing. And picture all these circles. Each circle is a different avatar. Okay? So this is, picture that's 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 different avatars, if you will. Or it could be the same avatar with different problems, like what we just illustrated. Okay, and we're going to find the overlap here of what would be included in all those programs. Picture them as videos or modules or whatever they might be. Even if you're going to start with one of those and selling one of those, if you identify this up front, you'll be able to actually quite very easily sell some other stuff. And again, I highly encourage you to go watch the other video after this that breaks down how to build programs live in a way that you probably have never thought about before, using strategic people in your network that you probably already have and never really thought about it, and allows you to package things in such a way that produces like the highest quality product you could ever do, and then backfill with content, which is even easier in the long run. But what I want you to see is that there's going to be some overlap here. Now imagine there was like a little circle in the center of these, okay? And that was the overlap, and then that's the same circle you're seeing right there, okay? Now, what's kind of cool about this, and I could highlight stuff. So what I was just talking about, if you didn't see that last thing I circled, was that. Okay. Now, what's really interesting about this, if you sell to this many people, that many overlapping avatars or that many problems, what's going to be bad is that you have a very scalable solution okay? Because the market is theoretically unlimited, but you're gonna have a really, really hard time marketing it, okay? Because you're not specific enough on the front end. So you're just like talking about this core solution, but people don't buy solutions. They buy solutions to their symptoms. Sorry. People don't buy solutions for the core. I'm sorry. People do buy solutions, of course, but they don't buy solutions for the core problem. They buy solutions for symptoms, okay? Or they buy masks or temporary relief until they can find something better, okay? Now, with that said, that means the core problem exists, which might be, this scalable thing right here, theoretically, because you can serve all these people, because that's the overlap, is the common thread they all have a problem with. But the problem is, again, the marketing. It's the messaging. Like, if you try to talk to 25 people, you're talking to nobody, unless you're like, are you a plumber and you want more leads? It's like now you're a commodity. If you're talking to that many people, you're turning yourself into, I'm going to put it here, a commodity. It's almost like if we were like, do you need ads for your business? It's like every company ever who understands marketing is like, yeah, I need ads for my business. And you're like, oh, nice. Now what? What type of business? Okay. So you're going to be a commodity, which means there's going to be a price squeeze. And unless you have VC backed funding or you go viral or you're trying to sell some AI thing or whatever, like you're going to have a giant problem scaling something like that. So let's talk about these other circles. What the heck are we getting at here? Why don't we trim this down a little bit? Now, even if you go with 4 avatars, you can see how overwhelming this looks. But if you really know what you're doing, you could dial this in, okay? You could have your 1, 2, 3, 4, and you could find the overlaps, okay, these sections here. And you could theoretically sell, you could sell from one solution to another. So like I showed you, the team problem and then the systems problem. So like, let's say you solve the team problem. Well, you created a new problem because now your team is having a hard time running the business without you because you tried to take a vacation, but you don't, but you don't have a system that's good enough to support them. And so now they are carrying the business, but they're carrying it in a very rugged way. And it's a very difficult way. And you want to make it a lot easier on them. So maybe you find the overlap between those two and you upsell from one offer to the next. Okay. So in this case, in this example, maybe this is the team solution for the same avatar, right? And then this is going to be the systems. Because normally when you fix one part of a business, you break another. Okay. And so this is well documented, but maybe if you go, there's a new page option there. Okay, so normally, right, if you, for example, if we just go marketing, let's call this leads actually. So leads. Let's say you get more leads, okay? And then you have like a nurture system. So this is your email system, whatever. Well, maybe you get so many leads that you're sending so many emails that your deliverability score, which means like the emails that land in the inbox, go down. Okay. Well, this part of your business is now suffering. When before you needed leads, now you got the leads, then you have too many leads, and now your nurture's hurting. Then you fix that. And then maybe you realize that your sales process is not very good. It's meh, right? It's this emoji face. It's meh. Or maybe it's even that. And you realize your sales suck. So you're getting unlimited leads and you're getting unlimited nurtures, book calls, but you can't close deals. Okay? Or you can't close enough deals, or you don't have enough sales guys, or you get too many call bookings, or you're not booking calls and you're processing so many transactions, right, that you can't service people fast enough. And then your delivery suffers, right? So maybe you get so many sales, right? And then your delivery is like, people are not happy. They're like, dude, he doesn't get back to me in time. His VAs suck. His team sucks, right? They don't have good support, okay? Very common with like software companies is they say the support sucks. That's the delivery side, okay? All right. So let's go on down here. Let's make this a little bit more simple because we could do a lot of things here. But let's just carve this out and make it real simple. Let's use the Airbnb guy. All right, so it's all the same avatar. Actually, it's not the same avatar in this case. This case is interesting because you can consider them all the same avatar from the standpoint of they're interested in real estate, but and they're either involved in real estate or they're not involved in real estate. But notice with our other example, that medical spa example, all of them are in the industry already. Like we're not trying to help recruit people who want to be in the industry to come into the industry and like uh, treat it like a brand new business opportunity for them. No, not at all. It's people who are already making money in some way or another, but they either want to make more money, they need to make more money, they have a profit problem, revenue problem, etc. But they are all the same person. They're already there, just at varying stages or varying problems. In this case, it's very different avatars, but there's going to be some overlap. Okay, so we don't have to use the overlap that we design or discover here, but what we are looking for is where we can use it and where there might be something that does overlap and then how one thing could sell into the next. Or by the way, you could sell the whole program. Maybe it's all one thing, or maybe they're different offers. This is the cool thing about this, right? Is you could decide to sell the whole thing as a whole. Maybe it just becomes one big offer, and each one is just like step one, step two, or step three, like phase one, phase two, phase three. Um, maybe it's like super modular where it's like you establish that one and then if you're interested you start making money. And let's actually just go right into this because this will be a good example. So let's say down here you have the RE investor, which you saw by our example. I don't need to refresh you. Means they have 100K liquid in an account somewhere and they want to invest. Okay. Now, again, you could even split that up to a totally different circle, which could be your fourth circle, which would be like a real estate investor with 100K liquid who does not have any real estate yet, or a real estate investor who has 100K liquid and does have some real estate. Those could be different too. The reason why is because they're going to think totally different. You'd have totally different sections in that program that would break down. And again, using the triangle model, which I'm not going to fully detail here, but it looks something like this. So this would actually, each of those people would have a model like this. Again, Taki Moore is the designer of this, full credit to him. This would be like your target, like what the objective of the transformation. So if you, that third box I showed you before, I'll go back and show you again in a second. But the transformation that they want to get, the thing that we ultimately want to deliver them. And then there's usually like three main barriers, which I'll just illustrate here. I don't want to go through this full thing, but like there's usually three main things in the way of getting to that. And then there's usually three things that they want to get or that they want instead. Okay, you can think of it that way. And then there's pieces of each of those things that have to go into place in order for them to have, and sometimes there's four here or five here or three there, or it doesn't really matter. But the point is that there's pieces of the thing that need to go into place so that they can install this piece of the pie, if you will, and then they can ultimately get that target if they have all three installed. So if we go back up here, right, each of these would have their own triangle model because it helps you identify ultimately the elements that go into delivering that core transformation. Okay, so again, I don't want to get too deep into that because we have other stuff on that, and then Taki Moore is the authority on that. But let's just use this example. So now we are going to say existing STR owners, all right? And then this one would be no STRs yet. Essentially, they want to get into it and they're not into it yet. That's what they want, right? Way too hot in here. All right. So let's take a look at this, all right? So no STRs yet. Let me get rid of my little, let me get rid of this here. This is distracting. Oh, it's going to happen again. Oh, yeah, it's going to happen again. All right. Well, we're going to leave it there. So no STRs yet, right? So if we were to take, obviously doing a triangle model for each of these would be really helpful before this exercise because we would ultimately walk away with the key elements that go into each of these. For example, the three main obstacles, I'll call this A, B, and C, getting in the way of this guy are going to be fundamentally different than the three obstacles getting in the way of that guy and the three obstacles getting in the way of that guy from getting to his ideal transformation, right? The center of this thing that he wants, which I'll, for the sake of the video, just highlight yellow here, okay? This thing that he wants. There's three things getting in the way, typically, three core things. There's three things he wants instead of those things, and then there's the pieces that have to be installed to kind of get this, which eliminates that, which gives him that side of the triangle, which allows him then to establish the three parts. If he's missing any one of those, he doesn't have the thing, okay? So if that was fundamentally done, then we would very easily be able to see the overlap of what goes into this. But just for now, you can even just jot it out very quickly. You could draw three terrible circles on a piece of paper. It doesn't really matter. You can use a fancy iPad like this if you want to as well. But what we're looking for here is essentially what goes into this, okay? And you could think of these as the deliverables. So back at our second box there, if we were to go back and screen share again, all right, these would be the deliverables here. And what we'd be looking for then is the deliverables that overlap with deliverables here, which overlap with deliverables here, okay? And what that allows us to do is then to list the commonalities between these two circles. We can list them here. And then the ones that go into all, right, go right here. So picture that as all. Picture we'll do this, okay? So these are like the in-betweens, all right? And then everything that goes into all goes into that center there. Now, what this would fundamentally show you, this center, okay? So if I draw an arrow, so this guy right here, all right? What that fundamentally would show you is what is true for all. Now, you may discover that there is no commonality. There's no commonality between this guy and the other two. So the real estate investor maybe is just totally separate from the other two. Well, that would show you something. This then might be something totally different. This might be a mastermind, right? This might be a fund, okay? This might be something fundamentally different. And these might be programs, okay? Then you might also discover that in this process, you're like, man, I really, really, really don't want to deliver all the things in this one. So I'm just going to create a program, okay, for this. I'm going to create a program for that specifically and just kind of automate it. I'm going to charge 300 bucks and I'm going to just list that on my Instagram, or I'm going to run some ads to it, get lower ticket things, sell a template out of here. I'm going to chip one of these things out. Either that, or you could come down here and take an entire triangle, or a piece of the pie, if you will, if you make that circle, a piece of the pie, and maybe that's a lead magnet for, $17. And then maybe that goes into selling them, kind of upselling them through a series of processes. If you're running low ticket funnels, we don't honestly love low ticket funnels, but we understand why people run them. And this does make it easy because you could just take a whole piece of the pie or even two pieces of the pie because, it's a much smaller piece. I mentioned this in other videos as well. And you could sell all that for a very low amount, cover your ad spend, and just do very simple advertising strategies from Instagram, okay? Because this stuff works really well on Instagram. It works other places too with organic content. You can sell from YouTube as well, but you got to be a little more sophisticated over there. But the point is, if there's a dividing line here, okay, and you want to sell some programs, you could do that. You could strip pieces out of this. You could sell it in a different way. You could segment it. You could do all this high ticket. We have another video as well where you can actually, I mentioned this earlier, where you can build programs and get paid for it while you do it, and get in front of audiences in a really cool way that you just wouldn't really be able to any other way. And we highly recommend doing that because if you can, if you have the confidence for it, because at the end of the day, you're just going to build a better program. You're going to make some sales. You're going to get more people into your ecosystem. You're going to be getting trust and authority transferred to you automatically. And with that said, when you do that, you can then just sell those things or use those as lead magnets in a very simple way, which might be, again, maybe you don't want to serve this person that doesn't have any STRs yet, and you just want to give that away. Maybe it's just content. Maybe just give away the whole entire thing, and then that helps someone get their first unit, and now you can work with them over here, right? You can work with them over here. And then you can go, man, I just want to help people get more and more STR units so I can get them over here. Okay, and so anyway, what you can fundamentally use these two exercises in tandem for is to help you clarify who you want to serve, how you want to serve them, and ultimately how that works. And so again, if I go back here, right, to this fundamentally helps you decide, do I want to deliver this? Do I want to deliver this? Because when you read that stuff and you go through it, you kind of realize like, do I really want to do all these things? You know, hire the right team members. Like, do I want to teach hiring team members, proper onboarding? You know what? No, man. Or I know someone else who does that, and that's all they do. So maybe I can partner up with them. I could teach systems and ops stuff. They could teach team stuff, like not as partners, but like they just run their business and we swap audiences. So they allow me to present in front of their audience, and I can just run a free X amount of day training and give them a piece of my pie or the whole pie. And then they can either pay me for the implementation of it if they don't want to do it themselves, if it's something like very complex, like show them everything, because then they're like, man, this is complex. And then they just hire you to do it if you have a service like that. Or, if it's a product, same thing. If a full jacuzzi, maybe you're selling big jacuzzi tubs. That's the thing that you sell. Fine, amazing. Do a demonstration in front of someone else's audience about how to care for it. Why this thing is better than the other ones, why you guys built it this way, all that stuff, how to maintain it properly, how to maintain your jacuzzi. And then someone's going to buy your jacuzzis. Like, that's just how it works, right? So if that makes sense, like maybe someone has an entire list of homeowners and you're like, yeah, I want to show them jacuzzis. Or maybe someone is buying Airbnbs and you go, I'm a jacuzzi company. I want to get in front of this guy who sells Airbnbs or sells education Airbnbs because he installs jacuzzis in certain Airbnbs in certain markets, and that guy teaching his people could sell, could help me sell this specific type of jacuzzi. There's so many ways to make collaboration happen in this space. And again, you'll see that in that other video I mentioned where you just build better programs faster in a better way using other people's audiences and using collaboration. Highly recommend that. And because you'll make sales in the process while you're building it and you'll just build a better product. So anyway, again, this will fundamentally show you between the circle exercise and this, it kind of gives you two different ways to reflect on who you're selling to and why and how and the deliverables involved. And I just figured this would be a very cool training for you to leverage. We've had people even just through these client-centric mission sheets go, man, I don't care about delivering this transformation. I don't want to do these deliverables. And ultimately measuring this is like not something I want to do. I'm not going to solve the profit problem. They got to figure that out on their own. Or I don't want to get paid to solve it. I'm going to create content about this on YouTube, blast that out to my email list, let that solve it for them, run some simple Instagram ads to my profile where they can click my link in bio to go watch more YouTube videos, right? And let them long-term nurture themselves and link them back to my Instagram. Fundamentally, opting in for lead magnets to get in my ecosystem so I own some of the data, blah, 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 so I can retarget them. There's a lot of different ways that you can do this stuff, but ultimately, hopefully these two sheets help you fundamentally decide, A, how to build better modular programs that you can kind of plug together in different ways, or as a succession, as a series, right? Where one person buys one, and they solve that problem, and they develop into the other person using, for example, this one. So going up here, it's like when someone solves this problem, they get their first unit, they automatically are now this person. Does that make sense? So they used our help. This is the result they got. They measured it, success. Notice how here what they're interested in is they have their very first location, right? And their listing is live. Well, great. Now they qualify to be an existing Airbnb host who owns or manages at least one unit. All of a sudden, boom, they have a full new program to enroll in. Kind of cool, right? So it's fundamentally different where the other one didn't necessarily create a problem, but it created an opportunity for them, which is to get more units, right? Because look, continue to be profitable, expand units in the right locations. Once you get one down, you're going to want to get more. So fundamentally, your new opportunity is this one. Whereas fundamentally here, the problem that you're actually creating another problem. You solve this problem, you create another problem in another area of the business. It's one business, multiple areas of problems. This is fundamentally transforming into almost a different business, into a different stage, into a different person. And then eventually, hopefully, they have enough money to become, this guy who has enough liquid to go, I want to invest in other things now, right? Or your fund or whatever. Super cool. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully you see how then that carries over to the circles. The circles overlap, and you can ultimately decide from the circles what you want to do from those. I mean, we could do a full thing on just like how to look at these circles in so many different ways. Fundamentally, it's just a bunch of circles that you can that you can use. It's just a Venn diagram, but with 3 circles or 4 circles or 5 circles. But anyway, you're looking for those key overlaps and then deciding is that going to be the key focus? And that becomes key modules. Like maybe you film one video and that video can now be used in 3 different programs, but it's the same video. But you knowing that ahead of time helped you film the video in a different way because you knew it was going to be in 3 programs. And you could mention that. In the video, because you know that, you could say, this video, you're going to see this video in all of our programs because it's fundamentally very important. You can even share these models. You can even share the model and be like, right now you're here. We're going to solve these problems. Notice how these problems are similar over here, right? You could screen share and show this model, literally. And then be like, look, what I want to do is solve the problems over here so that then you end up over here with a new problem or with a new opportunity. And then we solve that over here, and then you become the 100K guy, and you're totally separate. And that's where the mastermind and the fun comes in. You can literally show the circle like I just showed and do the same exact thing. So anyway, I hope you found this guy. I hope you found this valuable. I had a super long day of talking, so I tripped on myself a couple of times in this video, but I don't really care. I'm just going to put this stuff out. And if it's helpful to someone, amazing. If you have comments, if you have thoughts, if you found this helpful, if you actually do the exercise, hopefully you did it like following along. That would be great too. I probably should have said that up front. But fundamentally, I know this is going to help a lot of brands. We use it every single day. And we spend a lot of money on behalf of our growth partnerships. And we're really excited to work with better and better brands as we go, building a reputation as we go, and fundamentally just working with really interesting businesses that are real, that care about their customers. And like this thing said, the client-centric mission, client-centric. The center is the client and what they want. And our mission is attached to what we want for the client, which is what they want ultimately. Does that make sense? Like we are here to serve people. Okay, that's all markets do is they create solutions and problems, solutions and products and services for markets for market problems. That's what I intended to say. So hopefully we're not creating problems. With that said, I hope you guys have an amazing day. Would love to hear your comments below. Go watch some of the other videos on the channel. I'm going to be putting more stuff up that should start to interlink a little bit. Eventually, I'll get good about how do I link this video to the next video that kind of can cycle you through this stuff. And you could ultimately build, hopefully, a full program off of this because I'll be honest with you, I don't want you to pay us to do that. I want you to pay other coaches who do that really, really, really well. Use some of the models here, understand where the credit is due for those guys, and ultimately, come to us when you're already making money consistently. So I guess that means we're going to have to share some content stuff. I guess that means we're going to have to share some things related to how to make sales. I guess we're going to have to do that stuff to fundamentally help you do that right up front, and just give you hyper valuable things that are very actionable. And if you're curious about what my shirt says, I don't know if you can read that. It says, you still have a lot of time to make yourself be what you want. So at the end of the day, this fundamental belief here is that we can grow, we can change as humans. We are not fixed, and there's nothing wrong with us. We're not broken. And with that being said, we all go through our challenges, and this is a challenge for you, and I hope you accept it. I will see you in the next video. Cheers.